From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LALATE with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. New recessionary concerns swirling today for March 28th, 2022. But great news for the membership of the channel. Big four stimulus checks have landed. $15,000 to $80,000 checks. That's four stimulus. You heard me right. It's landing in people's bank accounts. Have you gotten it? If you haven't, I'll have the latest details on how to get it in the second half of this video. Then third stimulus checks have landed as well. MSC checks. In addition to that first MSC check you got last year, it's huge, averaging $2,000 a month for 12 months. All the latest details on that. Then a lot of major developing details about six stimulus going to a potential vote in April because guess what? New recessionary concerns today are worse than they were 24 hours ago. On the breaking news about the inversion of the yield curve, it's not good news for you. Well, breaking news about seven stimulus heating up. That student loan debt forgiveness with that May 2nd deadline set by the President of the United States. We'll have the new economic data about what is going on with potential stagflation, recession, and then inflation all at the same time. Major developing details. Then we have a new continuing resolution, potentially. A new CR introduced by the White House. Does it have a stimulus check in there? Or could it? All the latest details in today's recording. We'll be looking at that SS 300 that raises your benefits up across the board. And you need it because the price of gasoline is continuing to spike higher. All the latest details on that. It's a breaking news report with a lot of major details for March 28, 2022. First up, the Build Back Better Act gets a new proponent for it. Who is it? Joe Manchin. I have the latest details on that. CR, a new CR is debuted today. What's in there? I have the latest details on that. SS 300, new push to get it done. What's going on? The latest in today's recording. Seven stimulus, so that's student loan debt forgiveness, and then those four stimulus checks land in people's hands, and the third stimulus checks land in people's hands. It's raining today. It's good for everyone, except for, sometimes the rain doesn't help. I have the latest details on that. And then see you at the very end, because I have a big surprise for you at the very end. You love surprises. And it's not lobster and it's not bacon, but other than that, it's deliciousness. The details start right now, and a major breaking news report and a preview of tonight's evening's LALATE in prime time. The huge details start right now as Afternoons LALATE for March 28th, 2022 starts right now. It's a big afternoon with a lot of big checks. We go into this big afternoon with the four stimulus checks now paying out and landing in people's hands $15,000 to $80,000. Get your pen and paper ready. I'm going to show you how to get those big checks. Build Back Better is heating up today with a new push from Joe Manchin to get it done as the mortgage rates swirl out of control overnight. All the latest details on that front. Then we go over to the third stimulus. MSC checks have landed. Have you gotten it? I'm going to show you how to get them. Get your pen and paper ready. Get ready to take the big notes in this recording. Then we turn to the next part of the equation, which is that seven stimulus. Wow. Student loan debt forgiveness was the May 2nd deadline just around the corner. We have new data today about stagflation, recession, and inflation all impacting your SS 300. Then we turn to six stimulus, those big checks for that starting in April. Boy, we got a lot of money in today's recording. I'm excited you're here. The thing you need is a pen and paper because there's a lot of checks in today's recording. And stay to the very end. Big surprise later in the end. Let's go to the incredible details right now about the Build Back Better Act. Four stimulus recon. Not law, just bill in the Senate. Over the weekend, Joe Manchin says he wants to get it done. Huge. So in a new conference, the president's latest adversary became a proponent for the Build Back Better Act. Joe Manchin appearing before a Clean Energy Power Association. They're about clean and about power. Something that Joe Manchin doesn't have. Invited him for free lunch. So guess what? He said, I want to put some money for clean and power in the Four Stimulus recon. Oh, that was surprising. So there you go. The good news is that he wants the Build Back Better Act to pass, and he's ready to get it done. Wow, huge news. I'm going to have more about it in prime time on Evenings LA. 3 classes of checks, 3 add-ons of checks checks that pay you a lot of money, $15,000 to $80,000. Now, let's pause for just a second. Later in this video, fourth stimulus add-on is law. Is law, not by Congress, by the President of the United States. The checks have landed in people's hands, $15,000 to $80,000. How do you get them? You stay with me. That's the add-on to fourth stimulus. Let's first start with the bill, which is not law. It's about $15,000 to $80,000, same number, and it has 3 clusters and 3 add-ons, huge sums of money. Let's look at the details. Remember, it's about $15,000 to $80,000 of checks in there. In that first cluster, we have in there hazard pay and elder care, care for young children, the CTC, 1 more year, Pell Grant, $550 check, and then $12,500 for the purchase of your first home, for the purchase of a new electric car. Then $25,000 for the purchase of your first home is the first add-on got in there by Maxine Waters. How do you get these incredible checks? Tune in to Evenings LALATE and prime time tonight. We can go over each of these checks at 5 o'clock Pacific. That's America's most watched show for financial news in prime time. All right, let's go to that second cluster of checks, home repairs to weatherize your home. In addition to the first cluster of checks, home repairs if you live in a low-income community, and paid leave. That is if you have to take off from work due to sickness or illness. Lots of money. Let's turn then to the second add-on of checks. Huge. A little bit less than $250 billion of free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. The third cluster checks seniors and free internet for all. Farmers checks, independent contractors checks, and then lots of checks for the seniors, which are, let's look at them right now, dental, vision, hearing, and also the Medicaid gap fix to providing a workaround plan for 12 Republican states that never had benefits for seniors in there. Dental, vision, hearing, Medicaid gap fix, and lowering the eligibility age of Medicare from 65 to 55, which is par for the course when we're talking about adding checks to the Build Back Better Act. The other checks that they would add in there, of course, are those MSCs, represent the legislators to viewership of this channel. Those MSCs are huge, $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter. Who would get it? Everyone who got a third represents the legislators to viewers of this channel. Single individual, $75,000 less, you get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you get it. Family of 4, quadruple it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security or railroad benefits, you get it as well. Adult dependents would also get it. Now, let's take a breather there and let's recap, because that's a lot in just a short period of time. Build Back Better Act is not law, but an add-on is law. The President of the United States has the ability to do laws as much as Congress. The President made this law 4 weeks ago. Congress's Build Back Better is not law. The President's fourth stimulus is law. 4 weeks ago, $15,000 to $80,000 of checks. It's law. Those checks have gone out, and I'm going to show you how to get those checks in just a second. It's called the Homeowner's Grant. If you remember the channel, you've got the checks. Wow. And if you just became a member, I'm going to show you how to get it. Get ready with that pen and paper, and if you're a member, open that newsletter. We're about to go over the details in just a second. Now, Build Back Better is not law. The House and Senate bill, and that add-on of MSC checks is also not law. But third stimulus that was passed last year in 2021, you got a $14 stimulus check for it. Guess what? There's now available MSC checks on top of that from third stimulus. How do you get third stimulus MSC checks? They're coming up later in this video. And then I have a big surprise for you later in this video. Stay to the very end. A lot of big details. Now, let's look at the other developing details across the board. First, when we look at the Build Back Better Act, new push on the way from Joe Manchin to get it done. He wants to get it done, but the provisions he wants in there are not dispositive. He wants just climate prescription and deficit reduction. That's because he was being paid to speak, or he was having a beautiful lunch paid for him to speak about those provisions. You know, if we had an MSC luncheon, we'd certainly get him to say MSC because we would be paying for his lunch. So let's turn to the second piece of legislation, getting a new twist and wrinkle today. It's that CR. A continuing resolution was passed by the White House no less than 4 weeks ago that got county stimulus in there. That CR got county stimulus in there, provisioning one of the $1.5 trillion of discretionary funds towards county stimulus. Now, the White House had been saying for several days, and I've been reporting on this channel for several days, the White House was unhappy with that CR because there was no money for COVID in there. And guess what? The dominant strain in the United States is now a subvariant to Omicron, and the White House has no money. So the White House said they're going to come back with another spending bill, another budget bill to get some money to the president for COVID. And I said I was looking for it to come this week. And guess what? It came here, but there's no money for COVID in there. What's going on here? So the president of the United States announced his new spending bill today. Now, let me go over what's going on here because this is very strange. It's not a pure CR, it's a recommendation by the White House what type of spending he wants Congress to give him. Again, it's a recommendation, it's not a bill. He doesn't write legislation, and it's not a real CR. But at least he would have had some COVID money in there because that was the big brouhaha for 2 weeks on this channel. Not for me, but for the White House. There's nothing in there for COVID. There is stuff in there for health security, $10 billion. Very strange. So it included that big a billionaire minimum tax feature on the channel yesterday on March 27th. I told you that Joe Biden was putting in a billionaire's minimum tax. Why is this important for you? Because this is what Liz Warren, to her run for president, said that she wanted to use to pay for SS300. Yes. She called it the wealth tax. He's calling it the billionaire's minimum tax. Basically taxing people who have over $100 million in net worth in the household. Very, very fascinating. So he got that in there. Is this likely to pass? No, because it needs Republican and Democrat support. And this is just about as amorphic as it is. But it's very fascinating. Now, could some part of the provisions pass? Absolutely. And they did the provision in there pass for the wealth tax. Then guess what? SS300 could get funded or this stimulus could get funded very well. Now, right now, we're going to go right into SS300, which is different from this stimulus. Let me explain what's going on. First stimulus to come out to battle COVID. Second stimulus was to battle COVID. Third stimulus became law last year to come out of COVID. Fourth stimulus, Build Back Better Act, to come out of COVID. Fifth stimulus for seniors to reform the Social Security Administration. But there's a way to take part of it out and do it right now. It's at SS300, which I'm going to go to in just a second. Sixth stimulus to battle recession and Putin-caused stimulus. Seventh stimulus for that student loan debt. At the time of this recording, third and fourth has paid out this week, so they're overlapping right now. Fifth could happen very quickly after we thought it was going to slow down. Fourth is coming in April. Seventh is coming in May. So we're going to see at least 4 stimulus packages happening at the same time. Let's go over the breaking details on that SS300. It's fascinating. It's brand new today from March 28th, happened just a few hours ago, just before 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time today. So when we talk about that SS300, what are we doing? We're swapping that COLA for inflation. Swapping COLA for inflation because inflation is tracking its highest price point of a generation. December 8%, January 8%. Where is it right now? I'm going to show you in a second how I've been saying for over a week and a half it may be higher than 8% because the bond trades are trading up. The 10-year Treasury note thing is a little bit higher. So let me give you the analysis right now. This guy, he appears everywhere. Well, not everywhere, but most everywhere. And he is very unhappy with the Federal Reserve in every interview he ever gives. Every interview looks like the next one. I don't like the Federal Reserve. I don't like the Federal Reserve. His name is Mohammed El-Ararian, and he's an economist. And he said that the situation on inflation is getting worse. We'll go into recession. And this is because there's a cost of living crisis. I actually agree with him on this one. We're looking at cost of living crisis, meaning it costs more money to live. We're looking at the next two quarters, where the consumers can hit hard for inflation. They're going to get hit hard by lower consumer sentiment. This is big. And he's actually right on this one today. So, some days he's right. Sometimes I disagree with him. The consumer sentiment number was detailed on this channel. I think it was last week. Consumer sentiment, which is when you go to buy something, are you excited? No, was down because people are making a little bit more for salary based upon the year before, but the cost of the prices have gone even higher. So Jay Powell's trying to reduce inflation, but he can't do it. He doesn't have the tools to reduce inflation because it's caused by supply chain, getting those products from overseas to the United States. And with that, Jay Powell's been signaling that maybe he'll come in more aggressively. At issue, Jay Powell's trying to reduce inflation by raising interest rates over the next FOMC meetings, 1 meeting per month. And if he does it, it would reduce inflation. What is he doing? He's raising interest rates, but how much? Well, last month he did it. This month he did it a 1/4 basis point. Then he said, maybe we need to do more. Maybe you have to do a 1/2 basis point. My concern and everyone else's concern, if you hit this too hard, we go into stagflation. If you hit it even harder, then we go into recession. You don't want to go in stagflation because stagflation involves where the economy shrinks and then suddenly the businesses shrink, income shrinks, and everything costs more money. Very telling across the board. Let me give you the takeaway. I'll have more about this tonight on Evenings LA in prime time. The takeaway right now is the following. Hashtag Joe Make the Call. Joe Make the Call right now. Because if you swap COLA for inflation right now, your benefits would go up good. They would go up about $200 more per month. Because inflation's tracking about 8%, I think, right now, or higher, says the bond traders. That's why they're trading up the 10-year Treasury note. Jay Powell hasn't reduced it yet based upon his move this month. We're good for early April. Joe made the call then, so that Social Security Administrator had by swapping COLA for inflation. And then we're good for about late April. But early May, we get very problematic as, guess what? That's what the quote actually just said from Mohammed Al-Ararian. He says, looking at these next few weeks, it gets very problematic. And we're looking at those main numbers. Guess who's also looking at the numbers? Americans. Americans like you and I. And the president's new job approval rating conducted by NBC News. This is not conducted by Fox News or one of those channels like, what do they call it? One America First .com news. Yes, just okay. They always have a winged eagle as their logo, and then people put it on the back of their pickup trucks with a big flag. Yeah, very tacky. So NBC News did this, Paul, and it says that the president has a 60% disapproval rating. Ooh, ouch. Yeah, okay. 71% believe that the country's off to the wrong start. That's not even better. That only means 30%. Yeah, that's 29% says that the country's off to a great start. So the reason at issue is that the president needs to address these issues one at a time, very quickly. Now, the good news is that the president, somewhere in before those bad approval ratings came out, got money to you. Congratulations. So this is fourth stimulus and third stimulus. I'm going to go over all those big sums of money after the commercial break. Fourth stimulus checks have been sent out by the White House. These are not Build Back Better checks. Let's slow this down. We have two fourth stimulus. We have the bill of fourth stimulus, and then we have the president's efforts of fourth stimulus. The president's efforts, executive branch, are law. The Congress is not law. Congress hasn't done fourth stimulus as law. The president has. When? 4 weeks ago. This end of this week will be 5 weeks. And it's $15,000 to $80,000 of checks. How do you get it? It's coming up later in this video. Yes. Fourth stimulus checks have gone out. Yes. Viewers have got to. Yes. They've got an average about 60,000, but tracking about 15 to 80,000. Can you get as well? You can. Become a member. The link's at the top of the chat and the pinned comment. I've been featuring for members in the newsletter Monday through Friday for now 4 weeks. Then, third stimulus is paying out MSC checks. This is an addition to those $1,400 third stimulus checks you got last year. It's brand new. It's coming up in the second half of this video. Then we'll be looking at sixth stimulus. That is Putin-caused stimulus to battle the recession. Wheat, grain, oil. Then we'll be looking at seventh stimulus coming in May 2nd. That's student loan debt forgiveness. Then we'll be looking a little bit more at that fifth stimulus, my beneficiaries, SSI and SSDI. And then we'll be looking at everything you need to know to go into the rest of this week. Finally, the final minutes of this video, new surprises from me. Stay to the very end. We have a lot of surprises and my commentary. It's a big afternoon's broadcast from the shores of Santa Monica to the shores of Black Sea. Are we still standing with Ukraine as they go into the second month of the battle of Vladimir Putin? That battle is economically causing turmoil in the United States right now. I'll have that analysis in the second half of this video and what the progressive alliances of Germany and France and the United States are doing. It's a big afternoon's broadcast with big checks for you. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds, but first here's a little bit about the members community page. If you have questions about anything, the members community page is there to help you. See you back in 60 seconds as a big afternoon's broadcast continues with your seventh stimulus, with your MSC checks, with your big fourth stimulus checks, and more. See you back in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. They're Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals. Reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. Excitement continues. Right now, in the big second half of an afternoon's LA broadcast that has a huge sum of money for you. And it's landed, and it's huge. I'm going to go over the latest details on that in the second half of this video. For March 28th, 2022, the battling issue about the mortgage rates and the situation domestically is very troubling. It's teeing up a lot of issues at hand. First, it's teeing up 6 stimulus. Second, it's teeing up the Build Back Better Act. Next, it's teeing up the concerns to get those big checks out the door. And it involves also that student loan debt forgiveness. In the second half of this video, we have a lot going on. We're going to go over first the 4 stimulus checks. Then we're going to go over those 3rd stimulus MSE checks. Then we're going to go over the big We're going to go over the big student loan debt forgiveness on May 2nd. And then, of course, 6 stimulus. And then in the final minutes of this video, we have a big surprise. So stay with me. All right, let's get to the incredible details. 4 stimulus has 2 parts. The part that's not law in Congress and the other part that is law from the White House. The president has the ability to pass laws in the executive branch without the involvement of Congress. He did. 4 weeks ago, he did make his body of law. 4 stimulus add-on is what I call it, a 4 stimulus ancillary. Its payout is $15,000 to $80,000. And the members of this channel have gotten it. So if you're in the live chat and you see someone saying, has anyone gotten the 4 stimulus check? I haven't, because you need to do something to get it, and the members of this channel have done it. And the payout is $15,000 to $80,000. So get that pen and paper ready right now and become a member. The link's at the top of the chat and the pinned comment. Let's go over the details of it right now. The President of the United States 4 weeks ago on a Friday announced very quietly a big program that is law called, for purposes of this video, the Homeowners Grant. The reason you're not going to see it covered anywhere else in broadcast, print, or cable news is because no one covered except me. It was not a big fanfare. It was a buried news story. As soon as it was announced, I put in the membership newsletter every single day since then. And the members of this channel have gotten approved and gotten funding. And you should as well. First, how do you do it? And what is it? The name for purposes of this video is the Homeowners Grant, number 1. Number 2, the income qualification is the same as a 3rd stimulus check. Single individual, $75,000 less, you can get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you can get it. Now, unlike a stimulus check, you don't double or triple it. The payout is $15,000 to $80,000 per household. Pretty simple. Does it pay for beneficiaries? It does. If you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits, and you own your home, you can get it. Now, if you're a renter, stay with me, because I got money for you right after this. This is all featured in the membership newsletter. You want to become a member, the link's at the top of the chat and the pinned comment. The membership newsletter first will feature at the top of the membership newsletter the complete name of the grant. It's longer than the Homeowners Grant. Number 2, it'll go over the income qualification we just did. Number 3, it'll go over what it pays for. Things like, yes, home repairs, incredible, and other sums of money. Number 4, it'll go over what you need to know before you pounce. And finally, it'll show you how to pounce. Yes, you need to be a Purple Hawk. Yes, you need to pounce as a Purple Hawk. This is not something you're going to stand by the mailbox and look in there and say, is that a lobster in the back? No, it's not. I'll come back and look tomorrow. No, you have to pounce as a Purple Hawk. Let's go over all the incredible details. In that membership newsletter, you go right down and show you a link. That link sends you to the national website run by the federal government, which then sends you to the state websites, which then you go in and apply. It's been live for 4 weeks, and it's offered nationwide everywhere, number 1. Number 2, those everywhere places will ultimately run out of funds because it's not a limited pot of money. And when you look at that incredible map, I don't want you to be focused too much on it, even though I'm going to show it to you right now, because the map changes by the minute of the day. This is the map about a week ago. Don't focus on the color. Because in the case of pink, for example, Nevada and Mississippi and South Carolina, that meant that at the time that it's receiving applications but not paying yet. Well, those states could have changed at the time of this recording, so you don't want to be waiting around for your state to change color. You want to go right to the state and apply. Also, remember this, that between the recording, me, and the website, don't listen to anything else. So if someone says something else like, I don't think you should apply unless you first double bake your potatoes. Excuse me? Was that a requirement? Until you do banana bread, then you can't apply. Was that a requirement? Don't listen to extra things, because guess what? It hurts you. It ultimately hurts you when you listen to it. I'll tell you why. Because other people get in front of you, and every day that passes that you're not a member, every day that passes that you don't apply, thousands of people in your state get in front of you, and they may get funded, and then the funds may run out by the time you get your application on file. So the payout is $15,000 to $80,000. It's huge. This is for stimulus. It's law. President made law. It's landed in people's hands, it is paid out, and it's huge. Now, if you're a renter, third stimulus is available. Yes. Third stimulus from last year, 2021, I got a $1,400 stimulus check. Well, this is on top of that. Yes. Members of this channel have learned the ability to really push as a Purple Hawk and get MSCs. Now, these are in addition to what Build Back Better would give you, that fourth stimulus bill in Congress. These are third stimulus, which are law from last year. It's for rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, and more. Average view of this channel is getting $2,000 a month for 12 months. It's huge. Every day another success story comes in by the minute, by the hour. Let's look at the success stories in the last few days. Here was yesterday, March 27th. JME got $20,000 from this. The day before that, we had 3 viewers in 3 minutes in one evening's LA broadcast saying that they collectively got 100,000. They were Daniel, who's on SSI and SSDI. He got 60,000. Did you hear me right? SSI and SSDI, he got $60,000. We had Corey, who got $15,000, which is 14 months. We had Jay William, who got $10,000. Every single day, there's another success story. So where do you get these big sums of money? You want to become a member. Open that membership newsletter, because guess what? You're going to reach out to 6 places to start, and then the nonprofits on top of that. 11 plus places, almost a dozen and a half places. That's what you need to do. Rejection rate is about 50% of the time. So remember, you're going to get a rejection. Don't worry. You keep on making all those phone calls until you get a 50% approval. And you're going to reach out to your city hall, your city house authority, your county hall, and your county house authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. There are 3 things you must do. First, you must reach out to all 6 places. Let's pause it right there for a second. Remember, you're going to say those key words, so don't do another version. Don't call up and asking, where is my MSG check? No, you need to say those key words. Okay, you want to reach out to all 6 places. So for anyone who says, I reached out one place and I stopped, no. You keep on reaching out to all 6 places. Number 2, you do multiple applications. Number 3, you may have done multiple rounds, 4 to 6 months, but guess what? Viewers are getting 12 months. It's all in the membership newsletter. Become a member today. The link's at the top of the chat and the pinned comment. And there you rock and roll. Now, rely on those nonprofits, because guess what? They're in the membership newsletter. They're not in the videos. And they pick up extra sums in some states where you may have some issue finding the money. They also do home repairs. Finally, get these big sums of money. The average payout is about $45,000. Get those big sums of checks today. Do not wait. That is MSC checks. Paying on average $2,000 a month for 12 months. Huge. Go get those big sums of money today. Wow, so many details across the board. We're just getting started, and I got big surprises for you later in this video. Stay to the very end. 6 stimulus heating up today. Why? There's a series of major developing details in the last few minutes, which are very, very scary. Day 1 of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, I stand with Ukraine, Vladimir Putin's acts of aggression were immediately causing economic strain in the United States. And I immediately said day 1 of the invasion. If the gasoline prices at the pump stay this way through May, we go to recession. If the price of bread this way for the loaf of bread at the supermarket stays this way through May, we go to recession. Well, I may have been undershooting, because guess what? New economic data released today suggests we may already be heading into recession or almost there. Let me tell you on what's going on. There's a 5-year Treasury note and there's a 30-year Treasury note. I usually talk about the 10. There's a 5 and a 30-year Treasury note. For the first time since 2006, they inverted, which means the yield on one is different. Let me show you. On Monday, the yield on the 5-year Treasury note rose to 2.6%, while the 30-year note shrunk to almost 2.59. That's inversion. Normally, a longer note would pay more money than a shorter Treasury note. The inversion, that's inversion, where the longer note suddenly becomes cheaper than the shorter note, is very serious. It's the first time we've seen the inversion of the 30 and the 5-year note since 2006, and what does that mean? It generally means recession. The last time we saw this was 2006, and that was the start of the global financial crisis. The 2-year Treasury note jumped 12 basis points in just a few days. With the Fed looking to hike in a restrictive territory, the curve will invert, says Seth Carpenter with Morgan Stanley. As has been the case in the past, markets will debate whether inversion presages a recession. A policy mistake can cause a recession, clearly possible, but our baseline is that inversion without a recession is more likely. Interesting. So he in that quote says, it doesn't mean it's recession. My opinion of the situation is You don't solve these problems. We're going to recession. Let me tell you what's going on is that when you look at the elements at issue, and this is six stimulus, by the way, this is six stimulus. If you look at all the prongs of six stimulus, if you leave none of them fixed, you go into recession. What is six stimulus? Putin caused stimulus. Putin, he causing the six stimulus package. Because why? He's causing recession internationally. The parts of six stimulus are oil, which is also natural gas, then wheat, grain, and all those commodities related to them, agricultural commodities, and then the banking industry. And if you don't fix every single one of them, then guess what? We go in recession. If you fix them all domestically, but our partner allies like France and Germany, they don't have it fixed, we go in recession. That is why the White House has pledged to do the six stimulus package. Now, let me make something clear. You saw that poll early in this recording. The president waits too long to do this? Oh, boy, we're already in recession. Now, let's go over the analysis right now. It started no less than the first week of the invasion by Vladimir Putin, when Anthony Blinken, your Treasury Secretary, reached out to Germany and France, said, get off of Russian products. They said, no, we'll economically get into a meltdown. He says, you morally must do it. They said, okay, we'll morally do. And to do it, we're going to debt spend. We're going to raise national debt and then give spending to our citizens. So what did the White House do today? In announcing that budget recommendation, I'm not going to call it a legislation because it's not a legislation, recommendation, he talked nothing about this, which I'm looking at thinking, okay, you're talking about defense spending. I got it. You got to increase defense in a tense situation in NATO. But nothing about this, not a penny. Very, very troubling. Let me give you the analysis of what the White House done and not done. First, let me explain the totality of six stimulus. Six stimulus would heat up in April. Why? Because it's a trifecta of the progressives between Macron in France, the German chancellor, and Joe Biden, of course, a progressive. They have signaled that they would do it when they see if Macron's reelected. Now, if they don't get it done, we go to recession. I mean, it's as simple as that. Let's go over the parts of the six stimulus that are at issue. Number one, oil. That's the most common reason you understand that's a six stimulus package. Oil. Price of oil, I've been telling you since day when the invasion, cannot sustain where it was. I said we cannot sustain the international price of gasoline, Brent crude, more than 120 a barrel through the month of May. It is tracking at 127, 128 off and on the last 7 days. It was 124, I think, yesterday. Then it's hovered in the equal numbers today as well. The price of gasoline at the pump from AAA, 4.22, 4.25, day in, day out, it's about the same. That's not sustainable in the month of May. We go into recession. The President of the United States got that deal with Iran to flood our market to bring price gasoline down to its lowest price point of a generation. But we don't still see the deal signed. I don't know what's going on. It's been over a week. This would provide 500,000 barrels to the global partnership, and then per day, and then 1.3 by December. This will bring gasoline to its lowest price point of a generation. It's a huge deal for Iran. And it was a result of 15 years of negotiations, and France and Germany were helping us to get it done. Iran will be disarming their nuclear warheads. So why the delay? Not very clear. Over the weekend, the president overseas got another part of this done. This was good. He got LNG deals done. The European community will buy natural gas, liquid natural gas, from the United States, no longer from Russia, from now to 2030. Ooh, that is good, folks. That's a 10-year contract. It's great because it'll help American industry, help American workers, help you, help American union workers. It's great across the board. But what about the other parts? Well, we have to solve the commodities. The commodities are grown in that Black Sea region of Odessa, and the farmers cannot harvest wheat, grain, and similar in Ukraine because they're defending their country. And guess what? Our partner allies have an 80% dependency on that wheat, and they don't have any. So Joe Biden, while he's overseas in Brussels, addressed the situation well. Good. I've been recording this for now 2 months. He finally addressed my recordings. He said, good, we're going to allocate some of our U.S. wheat overseas, good for our farmers, so that our overseas partners don't go hungry. Good. But it still doesn't shore up the shortage, because there's a shortage of wheat and grain. If you remember this channel, it's featured in the newsletter, and that shortage is driving prices up to 10-year highs. Providing the wheat overseas stabilizes our partner allies, but will drag them into recession because guess what? We can't afford a $7 a loaf bread. And guess why the bread is going up higher? It's even more troubling across the board today. Is because the farmers are selling their wheat in the United States for a lot more money. Their revenue side is through the roof, right up, because there's shortage. but their cost side are also through the roof because the price to drive that tractor trailer gasoline through the roof, and the price for fertilizer from the king of fertilizer himself every time he has a propaganda speech, I'm not joking, Vladimir Putin, is going through the roof, and so suddenly their costs are going through the roof. Next, we have the banking industry. No solution at issue about this because we don't know the harm yet. Banks in the United States have exposure to Russian debt and equities. White House doesn't even address this. I don't understand why not. Now, I understand that you and I, and certainly perhaps the White House doesn't know how much exposure corporate America has. This is the issue. You go to your local bank, it's only maybe gone overnight because they may have done business with a major U.S. bank that had a major line item loss later this year because of Russian debt became valueless. April 4th, we learn whether Vladimir Putin is going to default on a $2 billion debt repayment. I think he is. It's principle. Boy, that's why six stimulus is needed. So important across the board. That is why six stimulus is needed. But it needs to be done completely, not in part, not in whole, and needs to be done quickly because you don't get it done by May. We're in recession for 2 years, folks. It's not like you can hold this off and do it in October because by then it's too late. Now, 7 stimulus has an inherent deadline. And that inherent deadline was heated up over the weekend. What is it? The President of the United States has set a deadline to decide student loan debt forgiveness. Wow. 7 stimulus is student loan debt forgiveness. And that student loan debt forgiveness has a benefit to it, which is that the debt has not had to be repaid during COVID. That freeze, as they call it, on the debt repayment is on a moratorium, is in place. But that freeze is about to be lifted. Guess what? Yeah, May 2nd. May 2nd, the freeze is going to be lifted. So the president has to May 2nd to make a determination, says the president and his chief of staff, because guess what? If he doesn't do the student loan debt forgiveness by May 2nd, he'll extend the moratorium. And if he does a student loan debt forgiveness by May 2nd, he doesn't need the moratorium. Wow, great news across the board. Let's hope he addresses it at issue. Now, let me go over the other parts of today's recording that you need to know. Huge details across the board. As you look at the landscape right today, as we go into evening's LA prime time, what's going on? There's a lot of major economic details and a lot of big stimulus details to go over. I'm going to go over each of them right now. First, let's go over the stimulus. Get that pen and paper ready. And this is a mixture of both what's going on and also my commentary. If you remember this channel, you learn so well, and you learn and you help other people. And ultimately, you may see someone join in the chat who's not a member who says, 4 stimulus went out, I didn't get it. Is it landing by direct deposit? Help them. Help them if you see that comment, because guess what? You know the answer. The 4th stimulus in the Build Back Better Act, not law, has not gone out, but the 4th stimulus that the president did, $15,000 to $80,000, has gone out. That is what's gone out, and that's the subject of these recordings. 4 stimulus checks have gone out. Going directly to direct deposit with doing nothing? No. You have to push as a Purple Hawk. You have to push as a Purple Hawk and bounce, my friends, to get these $15,000 to $80,000 of checks from 4 stimulus. If the person says, I looked, I didn't see it. Well, because you didn't push. Inform them about that. Number 2. If you see someone say something along the lines of, I haven't heard this anywhere else, guess what? You're not going to, as I said. This is a program announced by the White House, not picked up in the news, announcement 4 weeks ago. No one's going to go back in time and find a story they missed. They're just going to keep on going forward. So you're not going to hear this anywhere else. Number 3, 3rd stimulus. If someone says, but I'm a renter, I don't qualify for anything. Well, let's understand. 3rd stimulus, those MSC checks are for renters and homeowners. They are for renters and homeowners. So someone says MSC checks, are they automatic? Yes. Once you get approved, you get funded every single month, on the month, every single month. $2,000 is the average payout that viewers are getting for upwards of 12 months. So the viewer jumps in the live chat and says, how do I get it? What do I do? You say, you got to pounce, Purple Hawk. You have to pounce and get the big money. Now, here a little bit of my commentary. My commentary is that ultimately, I'm recording for the person who wants to learn. I'm not recording for the person who doesn't want to learn. And I've never been that person. I've never been a person to record for someone who doesn't want to learn. If someone jumps in the live chat and says, as soon as the video starts rolling, a 15-minute video and a hour-long video, wants a summation of everything in 10 seconds, where's the check, when is it landing, how do I do it? The response of that viewer is, listen to the video. LALATE will explain it to you, and I will. It will be covered across the video. Number 1. Number 2, if a person jumps into the live chat and says something along the lines of, can someone do this for me? Can someone do this all for me? No, this channel has always been about giving you the tools to do it. I teach viewers how to do this starting in December 2020. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I can teach you right now as well. December 2020, I taught viewers how to do it. Then we continue to do in spring of 2021. We have been doing it now for over, what is that? A year and a half. We've been doing it for almost a year and a half. And you have to do it. What's important to understand is that that is how first stimulus worked. Getting those big sums of money like EIDL, PUA, and PPP, and UI. They weren't $400 checks. They weren't $600 checks. They weren't $1,400 checks. They were $150,000 checks. When we talk about these MSEs, we're talking about $26,000 checks. When we're talking about these first stimulus checks, we're talking about $80,000 of checks. No government's going to send you out an automatic $80,000 check just because. You got to pounce as a Purple Hawk, and that's why the members have done it so well. Now, let's go forward, looking forward about what's happening this week. What's happening this week is we're going to see a little bit more of that economic data, and I'm a little bit nervous. Why? Because in my opinion, at the way it looks right now, Jay Powell does not have the tools to reduce inflation. So he may come in with those interest rates spike a little bit more aggressively in April 2022. He may give us guidance in this week about what he's going to do, but I don't think he's reducing inflation that quickly. So I think we're fine for that SS 300. I think we're fine even if he does a half basis point for April, because Joe should make the call right now, and I think we're fine to swap it out for the extra $200 a month. What about later this year? Later this year, Jay Powell says he's going to get inflation down to 1.9%. I don't think he can. I think it's just sort of talking about it. I don't think he's going to be able to physically get it down that low. I think he'll get it down to 4%, which is what he originally said. And that, to get from 8 to 4 is a big achievement. To get from 8 to 1 in, what are we now? We're in March going into April. In 2/3 of a year, I don't think he can do it. I don't think he can do it. And I got to tell you, if he does it, I think we are going to stagflation, because that's an enormous drop, 7% in just a few months. So I think we're good for that extra $100 later this year if Joe Biden makes that swap for goal of inflation. The CR is getting very confusing. I don't understand it myself. If the president wanted another round of money for COVID, where is it? Maybe there's another piece of legislation. I'm looking for it. Let's see what happens with that new CR. Then that sixth stimulus, very important. You get off of the Russian products, you be better ready to get something else, and you better be ready to get something going for your citizens. You can do an LNG deal, which is natural gas, which provides gasoline to our partner allies. But guess what? If you don't drive a natural gas car, if you drive a gas car and you go to the gas pump and you're still paying $4 a gallon in May, and your state, your county, or your federal government, or the trifecta, the progressives, Germany, France, the United States, haven't done anything, we all go into recession. I mean, it's pretty easy analysis here. That's not to say they're going to do it a little bit later, but that is what you need to know across the board. The great news is that the membership of this channel is rocking and rolling. You are doing it so well. Build Back Better. Joe Manchin says he's ready to do it, and he says the negotiations are going forward. He remains seriously concerned about the financial status, and he's willing to engage in discussions about the best way to move forward, says his spokesperson, communications director, Sam Runyon, over the weekend. Then we have the 30-year fixed mortgage note. This is when you go buy a home or piece of property, surging to 5%. It's absolutely astronomical. It's too high. That mortgage rate is going to potentially put this economy into a confirmed real estate stagflation. Many economists think that the real estate is a stagflation right now. Stagflation is where it costs more to perhaps repair your home, and then when you go to sell it, you don't get more money for it, or cost you more money to build the home, and then you can't afford it. The 30-year fixed mortgage grew to 5%. People are not buying homes because they can't afford 5%. That is why U.S. home sales fell in the month of February compared to the month of January. That's the fourth consecutive month of decline. 4% is bad, folks. It's not a good number. Then when we look at that CR, the White House still saying they're going to do COVID, but where is that money for COVID? And when you look at the billionaire's minimum tax rate item, it's clearly something that would not muster with the Republicans. So you look at it and you say, okay, is that supposed to go by bipartisanship, or what are we even talking about? Then when we look at the Federal Reserve, and we have a comment from Moham Al-Arari today, The Economist, that there's a cost of living crisis. Absolutely. That cost of living crisis is what I cover on this channel. If it costs you money to rent, utilities, mortgage, assistance, and more, you get it. And I'm helping you. No one else is helping you out there anywhere. There's no broadcast channel that's helping anyone get these sums of money. And I've been doing it for a year and a half, and I know how to do it. And for anyone who says there's no money in my state, there is money in your state. And no one who says it ran out. It hasn't ran out. There's absolutely money everywhere else. That's how I'm addressing the situation. Unlike Joe Biden, I guess 71% of pollers, of Americans polled by NBC today says he's off to a bad start. The rent is available, so go get it. The sixth stimulus is where I get most concerned. And you know what's the worst part about the sixth stimulus? Is that Putin default. $2 billion is enormous. And who does he owe the $2 billion to? It could be U.S. banks. We don't know who is owed that $2 billion. I'm concerned about the Brent crude price. It's out of control. I'm concerned about the wheat price, which was $1,100 over the weekend, up $16, which is 10-year high. The corn, $7.54. With that, it's important to understand that when there is money, you grab the money. Finally, big surprise is that we're approaching our 2-year anniversary on this channel, April 25th, 2022. And you can see the program of the channel slightly modify a little bit. So you see the home LA coming back to how it was before Christmas. Before Christmas, it was holiday home, where we did the Christmas tree and the Christmas tree buying and the Christmas cookies and the Christmas loaves. So we're teeing up for Easter, and viewers really liked it. This weekend's version was absolutely through the roof. We still stand with Ukraine. I stand with Ukraine, except when my pin that I bought from China breaks. I'm not kidding. I bought it from China, and I got it for two. I wore on set, and it was broke after 2 shows. So G, can you fix the supply chain and fix the quality of the products? My consumer confidence on G's products are down. There we go. We stand with Ukraine. I stand with Ukraine, but we're morphing a little bit back to that pre-Easter celebration. Then crypto is surging out of nowhere. Crypto started coming back in the last 48 hours. So while crypto used to be metaverse, I think I'm going to bring it back to the core of all crypto. Tell me what you think in the live chat. Do you want all the crypto back in the channel than just the metaverse? I'll tell you if you tell me what you like, and I'll respond. Then a lot of other new shows are coming to this channel in the next few days. I'm excited to roll them out to you. Finally, thank you for all the incredible new members. I personally want to thank each and every one of you. I know it's days like this that a lot of things become confusing. Finally, I think what you may see in the next few days is that most of the live chats may be for subscribers only. I think it's important at this point that if you're a subscriber, you're allowed in the live chat. And that if you're not a subscriber, why are you here? You gotta subscribe. If you're not a subscriber, you jump in the live chat and you write the typical. No one ever heard of a first stimulus check. It hasn't landed. It hasn't gone out. Lobster shorts are beautiful. Waveable checks, I hate them. And Nancy's hairstyle is gorgeous. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you is your taste in everything is off. I don't think that person needs to be flooding the live chat if they're just glorifying the lobster shorts. This is a non-glorifying lobster short channel, except when Bob wears them. Then we're okay with it. And so with that, and I personally want to thank Anne for the suggestion for going back to that, that pre-Christmas home LA edition, which I think is very exciting. I am not dressing up as an Easter bunny, and I'm hoping that I find Easter bunny surfing footage. We'll see if I do. And with that, stay with me, because coming up tonight is a big evening's LA. It's America's most watched show in prime time. It's the 5 o'clock show. Remember, the 5 o'clock show. Lately, the 6 o'clock show has been being the 5 o'clock show. That doesn't work that way. It's not supposed to work that way. The 5 o'clock show is supposed to be the 6 o'clock show. So make sure you tune to the 5 o'clock show, and then you can stay around for the 6 o'clock show. It's evenings LA in prime time, America's most watched show at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. That's 10 o'clock Eastern and 7 Central. With that, stay informed, stay focused. Have a beautiful day. If you're in Southern California, don't wear the lobster shorts. They're not waterproof. It's raining outside. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with Ally for more.